Back again for part 5 of building the ultimate virtual pinball machine. This episode is all about adding more feedback devices like the solenoids in all shapes and sizes. From the small and cheap option to the ultimate unbeatable one. I'll install all the different devices and do a thorough sound comparison. On top of that, I'll install a really powerful DIY shaker motor that will vibrate the entire cabinet. Let's jump into it!
Before installing any solenoids, let me explain what they are and what they're used for. Solenoids are electromagnets. When energized, they retract a metal rod. Normally, that motion is used for moving something, but in a virtual pinball, the only thing that matters is the sound and the tactile feedback. In general, solenoids actuate when something happens in-game. For example, when you hit the flipper button, an actual flipper mechanism energizes, which creates an authentic sound and vibration, creating the illusion you're playing with real flippers. I'll install several different types of solenoids in the cabinet, each serving a different purpose. The first type of solenoid I start with are these open frame ones. They can be found on AliExpress for next to nothing and they have a decent kick to them. Before installing them, I solder a connector and flyback diode to each solenoid so I can easily connect them in the cabinet. I don't have crimp connectors for this yet, so I improvise and use what I have on hand. I also mark the positive side of the connector to prevent any mistakes later on. To make sure nothing shorts out, I also add a blob of hot glue to isolate the bare wire. I go through all solenoids until I have all 6 finished. I'll use 6 of these near the back of the cabinet to cover as much of an area as possible to recreate the sound and position of the pop bumpers. In real pinballs, pop bumpers are usually located in the top half of the playfield in groups of 3, so with this configuration I'll have the best possible emulation. I install the solenoids with 2 screws, one in the center of the right wall and another one near the back. 2 more solenoids install underneath the playfield along the same horizontal axis as the previous 2, and finally I install 2 more on the left hand side to complete the configuration of 6 solenoids. To power everything, I'll install another power supply. The solenoids need 24 volts, so that's what this one provides. The solenoids can easily be connected to the power supply using a custom cable with the matching connectors. The other end of the cable's positive side connects to the power supply. The negative side of the solenoid's wire connects to the pinscape controller. However, instead of connecting them directly, it's a good idea to add fuses in between, as solenoids are designed to fire in short bursts. And if they are ever stuck by being powered on continuously, they get hot and can catch fire. My plan is to have a single location for all fuses, so I can easily replace one if necessary. The empty space next to the pinscape is perfect. I screw down a terminal block and clamp a fuse holder on one end that I screw down as well. The other end of the fuse holder will connect to the pinscape's power board. Once again, for ease of use, I crimp a connector onto the wire and slot the wire into a plastic housing. I repeat the entire process 5 more times, so each individual ground wire has a fuse and connection to the pinscape. Now to connect the solenoids to the pinscape controller, I run a ground wire from each solenoid to the fuse board and make sure to label everything. Finally, I install fuses in each holder. I determine their value by trial and error, starting with a low current one and working my way up until they don't pop from normal usage. Now that everything is installed, it's time for a sound test. They sound okay, but a bit too metallic and harsh for my taste, so I'll try to make them sound nicer with these plastic L brackets. The back of the solenoid should hit the plastic instead of its metal frame. Now let's hear the sound while playing a table for the very first time. How amazing! It's hard to convey the effect on camera, but it sounds and feels so cool. It really adds another dimension to a digital game. I now stepped into the realm of actuating devices, and another one that's really impressive is definitely the shaker motor. It's a concept from real pinballs where some weights are attached asymmetrically to a motor to make the entire cabinet vibrate. It's a really cool effect, but real shaker motors are quite expensive. However, AliExpress to the rescue again, as there are cheaper alternatives available, like this RS775 motor at just a fraction of the price. It's also quite large and vibrates like crazy. To mount it into the cabinet, I'll make a base for it with some wood and metal brackets. I whip out the table saw again to cut down 2 strips of plywood for the base. After that, I measure out the necessary length of this metal rod that I'll mount the brackets to that will hold the motor. I cut it down to size and drill 4 holes in each plate, 2 for the motor bracket and 2 for attaching it to the wooden base. The holes for the brackets are quite large, so I use a step drill bit to enlarge those. The brackets can then be fixed to the metal plates with some nuts, after which I put the entire assembly onto the wooden strips and fixed it in place with some screws. Finally, I drill out 4 holes so the assembly can easily be installed in the cabinet. Before installing the motor though, I need to be able to connect it. So I solder 2 wires to the motor, and at the other end of the wire I attach another flyback diode and connector. Finally, I use some hot glue to isolate everything. Now the motor assembly can finally be installed in the cabinet floor using 4 simple screws. It's installed near the front and along the length axis in order to feel the vibration of the cabinet more. As a finishing touch, I install a cover over the motor. Should anything ever come loose, that hopefully protects the rest of the cabinet somewhat. Now it's time to test it. Here goes! Awesome, it works wonderfully. I have to limit it at about 10% as otherwise it vibrates way too hard. After installing the shaker, I played some virtual pinball and found out that I don't really like the sound of the small solenoids. I think the solenoids sound a bit too sharp and high-pitched. I searched around for some alternatives, and one of the most popular things is this, a contactor. It's basically a high-powered relay which switches on and off a metallic plate by using an electromagnet. These should give a pretty good kick. First, the old solenoids have to be removed, of course, which is really easy with the connectors. Both devices use 24 volts, so it's a plug-and-play replacement. The contactors can then screw in place with a couple of screws. Now let's hear the difference. First the open frame solenoid, now the contactor, and now back to back. So I just compared the contactors and the solenoids. I think the contactors sound nicer because they have a lower sound and they sound more like pinball parts to me. So I think I'll go with those. Now it's time to install the most impressive solenoids. They will be powered by this beefy 48 volt power supply. I contacted the original seller of the donor cabinet to ask if he had any of the electronics left over, and he gave me the original flipper assemblies. These are the holy grail for realistic flipper feedback, as it can't get more realistic than the real thing. I cut off the actual flipper bat and mount the assemblies to the sides of the cabinet in the front, close to the flipper buttons. Before doing a sound test, let's install the final solenoids, the slingshots. These are the triangular things found in almost every pinball above the flippers. They create chaos when playing and shoot the ball towards the outlanes. I was gifted the original slingshot assemblies as well, so once again these will give sublime feedback. I start by tracing the mounting points of the assembly on the underside of the playfield, so I know where to mount the 2 separate parts. I first screw down the plunger arm that gets retracted into the coil. After that, I can mount the coil with a metal rod and spring inserted. I repeat the same process on the other side by first marking the screw holes, then attaching the plunger arm, and finally the coil itself. To connect the slingshots to the Pinscape controller, I use some thick wires as these use quite a lot of power. I solder a daisy-chained wire to both coils that will supply the 48 volt and solder a separate ground wire for each coil so they can be turned on and off individually. Some cable management is always a good idea. Because I want the playfield to be removable, I put a connector in between the wiring underneath the playfield and the wiring inside the cabinet. Just like all other feedback devices, the slingshots are connected to a fuse before going to the Pinscape. With the assembly connected, it's time for a first test. This is really scary though, as 48 volt is dangerously high. I turn on the cabinet for the first time and... Oh, holy sh**, what the f***? That scared the hell out of me. Apparently it's possible for the Pinscape controller to turn on all its outputs when booting. I did not know that. Alright, so this is another test with all the feedback devices that I have. I have the real flipper assembly here, open frame solenoid, a contactor, some more solenoids but mounted on the playfield TV, and then the real bumper, the real slingshot assemblies here. First the flippers. Then the open frame solenoids, the contactors, solenoids underneath the playfield, and finally the slingshots. It's hard to get an exact comparison across on video, since the microphone equalizes the volume of everything. But I can assure you, the real assemblies are a lot louder and generate a lot more vibration. They are really incredible.
Alright, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed seeing all the different kinds of solenoids and hearing what they sound like. In the next video, I'll install the entire audio system of the cabinet. It's quite a special 7.1 channel surround setup with a type of speaker that I have never seen before to play the mechanical sounds in a 2D space across the playfield. If you want to see what that is all about, make sure to subscribe and follow the video series. These videos take a lot of time to make, so please show some support by leaving a like or a comment. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope to see you in the next one.